Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome back. Let's go ahead and get started.
होता था ना, ऐसे होता था. So anyway, so then there is a form, and what happens? There is a name given to the form. So are you a name? Come on. So you're the form. Okay, fine. So you're a form. You say you are this body, right?
Wrong.
When you say I am fat, I am thin, I am tall, I am fair, what do you mean?
This body.
You're actually saying I am this body. Is it true or not?
Yes.
When I say that I am fat, what actually you mean?
This body's
That
fat.
I am the body. You're actually saying that only, that I am the body. When you say I am fair, I am tall or whatever, I'm saying what? I am the body. That's what I'm saying, declaring. Right. Now the question comes. Am I the body is the question. Am I the body? No. Interesting.
Am I the mind?
Sometimes you say I am very sad, I'm mad, I'm bad, I'm glad, whatever. Now, when you're talking about all this, I am this, what are you talking about?
The brain, maybe.
Are you talking about the body? Is the body glad? Is the body mad? Is the body sad? What are you talking about? You're talking about the mind. And you have identified with the mind and say, I am sad, mad, glad, right? Now, are you one or are you many? So decide, are you sad or are you fat?
It comes and goes.
Are you getting the point?
You could be both.
When the I identifies with the body, I say I am fat. When the I identifies with the mind, it says I am glad. Have you understood that? So there is a I that is identifying with the body. There is an I which is identifying with the mind. Is that okay? So ask the question, who is this I? Who am I? There is an I? Undoubtedly so. Yeah. So who is this I? No, Swamiji, I am the body. What are you talking? You know, when something hurts over here, मुझे दुखता है. आपको थोड़ा ही कुछ होता है. मुझे दुखता है. Isn't it true? It hurts when someone hurts me here. I hurt. Isn't it true? So how can I say I'm not the body? Now it's very interesting. When my mind is knocked out, you can do whatever you want to my body and nothing happens, right or wrong?
Something happens.
When they give me anesthesia, what happens? You're doing whatever you want to the body and I don't say I'm hurting. Why? If you are the body, you should hurt. Right or wrong? Because you're doing something to the body and I'm the body, so I should hurt. So the question comes, who am I again? I hope I'm just making you think, that's all. Whether you come to a conclusion or not is not the point, it's the questioning.
100% agree. That's whenever I talk to people and I question their beliefs or their statements, I just want them to think honestly, and I give them hard questions, questions in a sense. I try to, only because a lot of these questions that I hear and talk to people about, I've heard many times, and I've tried to hear counter arguments and pro and cons for the argument, and I try to give, if they're pro for it, I give the con. If they're a con, I try to give the pro. But I wonder if you say, well, and my belief in this one is the fact that you're still the mind, this section in the mind that is who you are, and what that is, where that is, don't know. Scientist doesn't know. Maybe the technology that we have isn't advanced enough yet to say this is where you're at. Electrical signals in this particular part, something, you know. But again, and the reason why I say that's because I know she's going to go to the Brahman Atman portion. I've had experience in terms of the blankness, as I think Swami Sarvapriyananda said. But even though I've had like a half a second or a tenth of a second of that experience, that doesn't feel separation from the body to me. So As far as my experience has and the knowledge that I've obtained says that I'm still in the mind itself. Because if you're knocked out, the chemicals that go into the mind and body blocks signals from your brain to the body, so therefore you're incapable of feeling the body because your body's numb because of those chemicals. And the chemicals from the body going to the brain is not felt. When you're asleep, roughly the same thing, except that the chemicals are not blocking you, blocking the signals from the body to the brain. Second that someone punches you, you wake up because the signal is not being passed from the body to the brain. So, but if you're capable of blocking the signals from the body to the brain, people can be punching you and you wouldn't wake up. But if that signals can go through from the body to the brain, you will wake up the second someone punches you, unless you are an extremely deep sleeper, which there are people like that out there, where you can slap them in the face, probably kick them in the nuts, and they'll still be passed out for some odd reason.
What we've taken so much for granted, we are questioning. That's all.
And that's my belief, by the way. My belief, my opinion.
Now, there's a plate of food. Wonderful feast. Rotis and sabji and dal and chawal and sweet dishes and you name all your favorite dishes, everything is there. Now I take a piece of the roti and I put it in the sabji, and then there's achar also, a little of the achar. Then there's papad also. I take a piece of the papad, put it on this whole thing. Now the food in the plate, is that me? Is the question. Is the food in the plate me? Come on, simple question.
Becomes you.
Are you sure?
Part of your body.
Absolutely sure. Now I take a morsel of that food. Is this morsel me? Yes or no? Absolutely sure. I put that morsel in my mouth. That food in the mouth, is it me? Are you sure? Then the food goes in. Sometimes it comes out. Now if it comes out, is that me? Swamiji, how can that be?
You.
Are you
it's your
sure?
old you. It's your old you.
Yes. Okay. And in the stomach, the food in the stomach, is that me?
Not yet. Well,
because sometimes it comes out, I told you. Okay. That goes through a process of digestion that all of you are very aware of. And then the next morning, it goes out of our system. Isn't it? Is that you? My God, Swamiji, I never thought you will talk such stuff. Is that you? Is the question. Is that you? Are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah? It's not you? 100%? Interesting. The food in the plate is not you. The food in the hand is not you. The food in the mouth is not you. The food in your gullet is not you. The food in your stomach is not you. The food in your intestine is not you. The food that comes out is not you. And the food, that same food becomes that blood and that bone. How can that be you? This is only one more modification of food. How can that be you? It's not logical. It's just one more modification. One thing came out, that's not me. One thing became blood, that's me. How? What logic? When all its modification it was going through, none of it was me. It became blood, it's me. How? Through what logic? Okay.
the body's not true. The
you know, all of
true.
you, all of us, every 7 years, every cell of our body except the brain cells die. You're all aware of that?
I thought the brain cells did too. I thought everything in your body after I think about 7 years gets replaced, except for the brain cells.
you have a completely new body from head to toe, every cell being replaced. Every 7 years. Except the brain cells.
Really? I need to look that up. I thought the brain
Now please
too.
tell me, which cells are you? Right now as you sit and listen to this, there are hundreds of cells dying as of now.
Well, this would cred the argument that you are the brain, but I wouldn't say that you're all of the brain, because there are many segments of the brain. Yeah, many segments of the brain. You're not all of the brain, but maybe you're a certain portion of the brain, maybe.
So many more are being born as of now. Which ones are you? The ones that are dying is you, the ones that are born are you. Which one is you?
I mean, this is sorry, I keep pausing, but this is a great example of the boat example I gave some time ago, where your boat, you have a boat, one piece of it get damaged, you replace that one piece. Is that part of the boat, or is that a completely new piece? Generally speaking, you'd say that's a part of the boat. There's been no replacement. You say I replaced that one piece, but now it becomes part of the boat after, say, a year. But then after you own this boat for 70 years, and every year or so you have to replace small segments of the boat, eventually you completely replace all of the boat, but it's still the exact same shape. It still has some of the original parts from the first replacement. Is it still the same boat? That's the question that I've thought of some time ago, and I've asked, I think, one other person. It's kind of an interesting question to just think about. It was basically what she said, and Sadhguru says as well.
You say this is me, right? Solid me.
Cut off your
Which one
finger.
is?
Are you the finger?
So now we come, are you all ready to do a little bit of thinking, which is ready, everyone? I'll need a lot of your attention. I'll need you all to answer as well. This is something really fantastic. If it comes home, it's wonderful. It doesn't go home, perfectly okay, no problem. You can just, And I always believe that if you've understood something, then that's your knowledge. If you didn't understand, it was not meant for you any which way. I'm convinced about this.
Maybe
I'm not saying you don't try. And if you get it, it's good. If you don't, and it's very simple. Actually, it's so simple. It's so logical, it's so simple. There are two principles by which we do what we call, yesterday only I said, we have a very, very fantastic faculty given by Bhagwan, which is called Viveka Shakti. Remember yesterday we talked about, and in that we talked about Sadhan Sadhya Vivek. There's another type of Vivek which is only unique, only human beings can do, animals can't do. And this is what I'm going to make you all do. It's a higher order of Vivek. Sadhan Sadhya Vivek is a simple, ordinary type of Vivek, but the type of Vivek that I'm going to make you do is a really higher order of Vivek, which is something which is of a very spiritual nature, and this is what Vedantis do. One of this is called Drashta Drishya Vivek. I want all of you to do it with me. Two principles. Number one, the Drashta is different from the Drishya. The seer is different from the seen. The knower is different from the known. What is this? Watch. I know the watch. I am not the watch. Is it okay? The knower is different from the known. Simple. The knower knows the known, but the known cannot know the knower. Is it okay? One more. What? The knower knows the known, but the known cannot know. Two principles. We won't go into more of them, just two. Which are the two? Seer is different from the seen. Second, the seer can see the seen, but the seen cannot see the seer. Okay, shall we all go ahead? Right. Now, how do you know that there is a watch? This is a watch, is a knowledge that happened. It's the known, right? How do you know that? Swamiji, I am seeing it. I can see it. Okay, so the eyes see the watch. The eyes are the seer and the watch is the seen. The eyes can see the watch, but the watch cannot see the eyes. Never. The watch will never ever know. You can keep doing as much as you want over here, but the watch will never know that the eyes are seeing it. Is it true or not? So we can use this word, the watch, the eyes are beyond the purview of the watch. I use the word beyond? Yeah? You will understand the meaning of the word beyond now? That the eyes are beyond the purview of the watch. Is it okay? Now we go. How do you know that the eyes see the watch? Swamiji, such a simple question. You may be confused about it, but not me. How do you know that my mind is there? I'm telling you, if your mind is not behind your eyes, you cannot see anything. Is it true or not? इसलिए जब एक्सीडेंट होता है तो सामने वाला क्या बोलता है? अरे आंख खोल के चलाओ. तो आंख तो खुली होती है, लेकिन mind is somewhere else, isn't it? The person passes in front of you, but if your mind is somewhere else, you don't see the person. Is it true or not? So therefore, the mind knows what the eyes see. Is it true or not?
That's kind of crazy though when she says that. Like there are some, I guess some people can get really in deep thoughts that you can see them looking, but for some odd reason, they're just unaware. It's really interesting and weird. Like, how does it happen? Your eyes are literally looking, or someone's eyes are literally looking. You can go in front of them and wave at them, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, I didn't see you there. And you've been like that person. You've been standing in front of that person for like 5 minutes or something, and they were completely unaware that you're there, even though they're looking at you with their eyes unblinking. It's crazy.
So the mind is the seer or the knower, and the eyes are the seen or the known. You know that I can't see well. Who knows that you can't see well? Who knows that you can't see well? Not the eyes, but the mind. Agreed? So eyes know, and the mind knows what the eyes see. The mind is different from the eyes. The seer is different from the seen. The seer can see the seen, but the seen cannot know the seer. The mind knows what the eyes see, but the eyes can never know what the mind thinks. Have you understood this? Anyone's mind. Eyes have never seen the mind. No one's eyes. Right or wrong? Now, let's go a little further. So far it is okay.
Let me, I hope to maybe clarify this. I'm not sure. I'm hoping she's meaning the mind as in not the brain. Because the brain is something physical and you can see your brain through a scope, but I think it's, and she did say thoughts, so more specifically the mind and not the physical brain, the activities in your brain, not the brain itself, I believe.
How do you know what the mind knows through the eyes? Let me say it differently. Who knows the mind? Okay, let me talk of it differently. Did you understand what I spoke? Simple question. And you can feel free to say no also. No. Very good. Did you understand? No, I didn't understand. Do you know that you didn't understand? I know I didn't understand. Wonderful. Do you know you didn't understand? Of course I know. If you ask me more, I'll get irritated. I know what? I understood. I know I didn't understand. Both of that you know or you don't know? I know my knowledge, I know my ignorance. Yes or no? I know the thoughts of my mind. I'm getting angry. Who knows? I know. I'm getting angry. I'm not understanding. I'm confused.
Actually, she made this statement real quick that kind of just, I don't want to say blow my mind, but I know my ignorance. I have a feeling, I think the more appropriate things, I don't know my ignorance. And I think that's why a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, or a lot of bad things happen because they don't know their ignorance. That's actually a very interesting thing that you said. It's the fact that because we lack the knowledge of our ignorance, that we make mistakes. And what's that to say, and to, I guess, make it easier to excuse me, to make it easier to understand is, I guess, because we think we know something and we do it, and then we make a mistake because we think we know it, but in reality we didn't know our ignorance of that. What do you think about that statement? Let me know.
Whatever it is, I know the thoughts of my mind. Is it true or not? Yes? No. The knower is different from the?
No.
I know my mind. I is different from my mind. I know my mind, but my mind can never know I. There is an I which is beyond the mind. There's a mind which is beyond the eyes. There's the eyes which is beyond the objects. There's an I which is beyond the objects, the eyes and the mind. That I am.
So here's the only part out of all, even Swami Sarvapriyananda, where he also makes the same statement, where I disagree with to a degree. Because just because, again, I don't have any experience on this, and the only logical step that I can conclude is the fact that the I is still in the brain. Because I've not experienced this separation, even though I experienced for a very brief moment, one time, maybe twice, of this blankness. But and it's very difficult. I just got there by accident one time, and I don't know how I did that. It just happened, and then I could never get back to it again. But anyways, only because my issue is the fact that they group the brain itself into a large lump sum when the brain's in different hemispheres doing different things. It's kind of like saying the arm is part of the stomach, and it's not. Your arm does something separate, your stomach does something separate, your legs does something separate, your butt does something separate, your back does something separate, and he's grouping it all in one body. Your body all doesn't do one thing. Your body's made up of different segments, each doing their own individual things. And that's my personal belief in the mind as well, the brain. Let me say that. And the mind is who you are. Where that is in the brain, that is the question for me, and that's where I don't have an answer to. Science doesn't even have an answer to that. I don't believe yet. And I think it may be just a limitation of technology. But then again, I don't know. I'm not saying, oh, this is in fact true. I'm saying this is my belief in that. There's no proof in it at all. But just based on my personal experience, there's nothing that separates me from the brain. I am the mind in the brain, not separate from the brain. That's my belief.
And now what are we trying to do? Grasp this I with our mind. All of you, right now. Yes or no? अरे बुद्धि के पल्ले नहीं पड़ता, नेचुरली पल्ले नहीं पड़ता, क्योंकि क्या है बुद्धि के. Have you understood? So who am I? I don't believe in God. Wonderful. Who doesn't believe in God? I. Which I? Ramana Maharshi used to do that way. Someone will come and say, I have a problem. My son. So Ramana Maharshi said, one minute. Your son is a problem? Yes, my son. 1 minute. Whose son? My son. First ask, who am I? Then we will come to the son. First ask, who am I? He would go to that, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, very, very great saint. I don't know how many of you have heard of him? Quite a few of you? Yeah, very great saint. So he would go to that. He says, go to the fundamental. Who am I? So there is an I which is beyond the mind. Now, all finitude in the world is in the mind. Isn't it true? Time, space, objects, every experience that you can ever think of, You are experiencing it through the mind. Yes or no? Every possible conceivable, whether it is science or your field of engineering or psychology or any field, whatever name you want to give it, it is all experienced and understood and experimented here, right or wrong? And what are we talking about? Beyond. Have you all understood that? So when you say, I don't believe in God, and you say, and you make it into a concept of your mind, and then you say, I don't believe in that God, we say, even I don't believe in that God. Have you understood? For us, who is this God? He is infinite. Why? Because he is not limited by even a touch of any thought. He is beyond time, he is beyond space, he is beyond objects. That is the God that we believe in. Are you understanding what I am speaking? Yes. That I. So where is God? Where is God? If he is beyond time, he is everywhere. Remember that. If he is beyond space, he is everywhere. If he is beyond time, he is all the time. If he is beyond objects, he is in every object. That God, which is infinite, is available here as I. Have you understood this now? God is everywhere, but he is available here as my very I. Is it okay? Yes. Electricity is there in all the wires, but it is available in a particular place where there is a filament, etc. You understand? Where there is a socket, where there is something. That's where it's available for experiencing. So God is infinite, is everywhere. So where do I contact him? Contact him here as your very I. Is it understood? So when someone says, I don't believe in God, we first ask, which is that God that you don't believe in? For most of the time, it's always a concept of God. Now, there is another thing, which leads me to something. Do you want to talk? Because I find, I've been discussing with some of you, and I find that faith is something we have understood very little about. I want all of you to understand this thing about, when people talk faith and this, that, we haven't understood a few things, basic things about knowledge. Okay, swimming. Can you learn swimming the way you learn history? Come on, you have to answer these questions.
Can we learn about swimming the same way we can learn about history? I have a feeling the answer she's looking for is no. I will say yes though. It's yes and no. Depends on a certain situation. So why do I say no? History is generally something from the past. Generally speaking, I do believe. And you can only learn through history by reading books. So you're not physically doing something, you're sitting there. I mean, you're physically doing something, but it's not the same as swimming. Swimming is more of to learn how to swim, you have to do. History, you have to read. So two different activities. Why do I say yes? So yes, for me, it's because when you're living right now, what you're doing right now is part of history. It may be insignificant in terms of what needs to be known. It's like, no one needs to know that you pooped at 2 p.m. It was nasty. No one needs to know that, really, honestly. But it is still part of history. Even though you're living history right now. And what you did 5 minutes ago is in the past. History in the past. You're creating history now, and what you've done in the past is history. So, yes, because you're doing something. You learning how to swim is part of history. Your history.
Can you learn swimming the way you learn history?
So that's why I said yes.
No? Does that make swimming illogical? And the way you learn swimming is very different. It's a skill. All skills are learned by practice. Is it true or not? That's the way to learn a skill. Any skill. Now.
But when you learn how to swim, it becomes part of your history. So that's why, again, I am being nitpicky here, but I wonder what she would say if I said that, though. I'm not trying to pick on her. It's just because how I understand and grasp concepts and how I try to attack any argument I'm presented with, including my own arguments. I want to make sure that whenever I speak an argument that is very clear and very precise, so there's no confusion. So I understood what she was trying to say by saying the answer is no, because you must practice swimming, you must do swimming, where history is you must read. You don't do history, even though you are technically doing history. It's just not a history that people want to read.
Poetry is understood or appreciated very differently from science. Is it true or not? Does that make you cannot understand poetry by experimentation and logic? Can you? You can ruin a poetry by that. But you cannot understand the beauty of a poem just by experiment. Does that make poetry illogical and unscientific? Come on.
I'm just a weird person. I think you can do it with logic and science. I mean, what is it? Music tempos, I believe. There's a science to it, actually, and there's certain beats that are very popular. You tend to hear those in pop music. There are very popular beats that tends to repeat itself, but sound a little bit different. But the beat or the tempo is similar. There are infinite number of potential beats out there, but yet when you look at pop music, a lot of the beats tend to be relatively the same because they tend to be very popular, and a lot of people like these beats. So it is scientific.
Just because you cannot know it through science, does it make it illogical and unscientific? I hope you're understanding what I'm speaking. Each field of knowledge is known by a different means of knowledge. Is that okay? The means of understanding history is different. The means of understanding science is different. Science you can repeat an experiment. Can we say history also repeat World War II? Then only I will believe.
Well, it happened twice.
You can't repeat it. That doesn't mean it's scientific. It is useless. It is nonsense. Come on, its way of understanding is completely different. I hope you appreciate what I'm speaking. So each field of knowledge has to be known in its own particular way. Then only you can get knowledge of that. You can't know it. Everything in the world cannot be known in scientific language and knowledge. That doesn't mean it is unscientific or illogical. Is that understood? So the Atma, which is beyond the mind, if you want to understand it as an object of experimentation, it's not available like that. That doesn't mean it is unscientific or illogical. Have you understood? You're expecting it to be available as an object is unscientific and illogical. Have you understood this point? Yes or no? It's very illogical to think that you can, swimming should be learned the way science should be learned. Huh? What are you talking? Got it? That is why when I say, if I don't see it, I don't believe. Ayya, Rama. Do you see the beauty of poetry with your eyes? Bolo. Do you see it with your eyes? Okay, even space.
There, she's getting along the lines of subjective. And again, this is all merely my opinions. I get what she's saying. You can't see the beauty of poetry. You can't see the beauty of music. No, there's no single music that everyone agrees that is really good. So that's the reason why it's subjective. Science, in terms of science, science must be repeated. Everyone can do it, so long as you do it the same way, we'll have the same result. Otherwise, it's not scientific. It's not provable. That's the way scientists have made science to be. It's like, so long as you have a nice clean environment, you have the same material, and you repeat that constantly over, you do it 1,000,000 times, you'll end up always with the same result. That's what science is. Poetry itself, some people think some poetry is trash. Some people think that same exact poetry is magnificent. Some people think Justin Bieber is the best singer in the world that ever lived and sung in this entire planet. Some people think Justin Bieber's trash. It's, again, art is subjective. Poetry is subjective.
Have you ever, any one of us, have we ever seen space? With your eyes? Have you seen space? Come on.
I think so.
No, Swamiji, I'm seeing, you are not seeing space. Believe me, you are seeing only objects. Is it true or not? You have never seen space. You have never touched space. I'm not touching space at all. Can I touch space? Is it a thing that I can touch?
And now this is where I have to get with the definition. I'm being so nitpicky, but I mean, I look up. That's what's considered space. Yeah, I mean, we live in space itself.
Have I smelt space? What am I smelling? I'm smelling air. I'm not smelling space. Is it okay?
But that is space, in my opinion, though.
I have never touched space. I have never seen space. I have never tasted space. Are you understanding? It's not available to my senses, and yet I know space is. Why? Because I'm accommodated, full stop. So it is known not through my senses, but its quality of accommodating, and I see I'm accommodated, there must be space. Are you understanding that?
I do wonder what her definition of space is at that point. I mean, again, like everything in the universe is created by things in the universe. So oxygen is part of space. The Earth is part of space. We are in fact part of space, and this goes back to Brahman itself. The idea of Brahman, at least from what I understood it, is that everything's made out of Brahman. There's nothing outside of Brahman. If it exists, it is Brahman. If it doesn't exist, well, it doesn't exist. It's not existent, therefore not Brahman. But everything is Brahman. All time, all objects, all time, all space is Brahman. Nothing is excluded from those. So that therefore, space itself is Brahman. We are Brahman. Oxygen is Brahman. These objects are Brahman. Therefore, we touch space. We are space. But I'm wondering if she's merely saying the idea of space, that is generally the vast emptiness of space, but there's not a. We cannot say that. This is space. This is not. This is space. You can't say, okay, you want to touch space? This is it right here. This is space. I think that's what maybe she's getting at, and which then I do understand what you're saying. But again, I think about a lot of things, and I want to understand it completely, and the way I do it is by asking questions. So I'm assuming that's what you mean by space, and if so, then I understand it.
So just to say that I don't believe because is illogical. And the way of knowing it is different. It cannot be known the way I know other things in the world. And if I expect to know it that way, then that is unscientific and illogical. Is that understood? Now let me talk a little bit about faith.
Okay, I'm going to pause. Ooh. We'll continue on, actually.
I know, the minute I say faith, everyone's going to react, lots of things are going to happen in your minds and all that. Now, I ask you a question. Do you have faith that you have a nose on your face?
No.
Yes? You have faith?
Oh, you can touch it and come and see it. There we go. Oh.
Do you have faith that you have a nose on your face?
The answer is supposed to be no. Because you can touch, you can see, you can look in the mirror, you can have
Please
other
answer.
people.
Yes? I ask you again. Faith? You have faith that you have a nose on your face?
You can breathe, you can feel it.
Do you have faith? Do you need faith to know that you have a nose on your face?
The definition, at least as far as I understand faith to be, is to believe in something that you have no proof of, or without any knowledge. Just basically you have nothing to back up this belief. That is what faith is.
Yes. It is. You don't have faith. You know. Is it okay? Right? You know that you have a nose on your face. You don't have to have faith to know. Because you know it is there. I can touch it. I can whatever. Right?
You can pick it.
So I don't need faith. When there is knowledge, faith is not needed. Is it okay? So when is faith needed?
When you have no
When
knowledge.
there is no knowledge, that's when faith is needed. Is that understood? It's a crazy thing. We said, if I don't know, how can I believe? Are Rama, because you don't know, you have to believe. Have you understood that? Because if you knew you did not need, you won't need faith. This is very funny. See, the logic is not understood. We make statements and we think we are so logical and so smart enough. First I have to know, then only. First I have to see God, then I will believe. Are Rama, if you see God, you will not need what? Faith, because you would have already seen. You say, I know. Got it?
So is she trying to say that if there's something you don't believe, you have faith in it? Kind of odd. I will say things that if I don't know, I like to go back to what Sadhguru and Swami Vimalananda says, and just say, I don't know. I mean, I don't have to have faith or knowledge in it. If I don't know, I just don't know. I really don't. I don't want to have faith in something. If I don't know, I just don't know.
We are putting the horse before the
carriage.
अरे ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? इसलिए गीता में कहा श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम. श्रद्धा पहले आती है, बाद में ज्ञान आता है. नॉट पहले ज्ञान आता है, बाद में श्रद्धा. अगर ज्ञान हो गया तो फिर श्रद्धा की आवश्यकता ही नहीं है. You don't need faith after that. Is that understood? First of all, this basic misunderstanding of what is faith itself, we don't know. Then there is this other thing which everyone says, and blind faith. I don't know, blind faith, blind.
I guess, that's true. I guess I never thought about that. Faith and blind faith. I guess maybe faith has a little bit of backing to it, in a sense. I guess blind faith is maybe more so that it literally has nothing backing it up and it's blind, I guess. Or maybe they're both one and the same. We just add blind faith to it.
And I tell you, and I find people in IIT more like that. I'm talking, everyone's, you're almost traumatized by the thought of having blind faith. And we don't know how much of blind faith each one of us, the so-called intellectual and the so-called this, how much of blind faith we are living with. I know, unless I question everything, I will not believe. I question everything, then only I believe. Arey Rama, you don't know how many things you just believe like that with absolutely zero questioning. And you're living your life happily.
I will say that's true for me. I mean, I do question everything, but I do understand that I cannot know everything. And there are certain things that I do have to accept in sense of faith, but it's not hard to know the reality. Just because I don't know how something works doesn't mean I'm believing on faith. Gravity, for example, it's a theory of gravity. Theory of gravity? Theory of gravity. No one knows how gravity works, I believe. But yet we accept it as faith. No, we can experience it. Therefore, it is relative. And when I say experience, we all experience it the same. There is no question or doubt of this experience from many people. I mean, they don't know how it works. They don't know where it's coming from. But when we jump, we come right back down. When we throw something up, it comes back down, and it's very consistent. 9.8 meters per second, I believe. Factoring, of course, resistance and whatnot. That's acceleration, but you have to factor in density of the air and all resistance and all of that. Friction. So it's a lot of the things that we think we accept as faith is not exactly like blind faith. There is the lack of knowledge of something, but we know it's there kind of deal. It's like it's something obvious, but we don't know how it works. Again, like gravity, I believe.
Without that. And I'll tell you one thing that will shock you. You have complete blind faith that your parents are your parents. You have no proof. Have you ever asked?
I hate to be so nitpicky, but there's no. Oh, hold on.
DNA test karo.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
ये मेरी माँ है कि नहीं? ये मेरे पिताजी है.
I mean, she ain't lying though,
What proof do you have, my dear?
Yeah, until you get a DNA test, you're taking an absolute faith for sure. Completely agree with her there.
That your father is your father and your mother is your mother.
Until you take a DNA test.
Have you questioned? Because you don't believe anything without questioning. Will you dare to question? जा माँ को जाके पूछ. I want to do your DNA. Are you understanding what I'm speaking?
But man, I feel like I'm not really combating her. It's just I wish I could talk to her about this, and I want to see how she responds to me. Hopefully she can destroy my arguments, or at least explain it in a different way where there's no question in my mind about it. And there, again, like I said, there are certain things in life that we accept in some type of faith for sure, but it's not something like extraordinary. Like to say that, oh, you're breathing in oxygen. It's like, oh, I'm taking that on faith that I'm breathing oxygen, you know. It's clear that we are breathing oxygen, because if you lock yourself in a container, eventually you're going to run out of oxygen and you'll pass out and die if you don't get out. But you can, when you go out in the world, you're not carrying out a meter saying, okay, it's 26% oxygen, which I think that's the right, or 67% or some percent oxygen. I think nitrogen is like 67% in the air, and 20 some odd percent is oxygen. And we're having faith that we're breathing in oxygen. That's not exactly something difficult to believe, considering that it is something that's provable very easily, and we don't necessarily need absolute proof that it's happening. But to believe in something of a higher, like something that's outside of our experience, gets a bit more difficult to believe. To say, like, again, aliens. Do we believe there's aliens out there? Yes, but we have never experienced it. It's just very highly improbable that we're the only sentient life or beings in this entire universe. So it's not hard to believe that there are aliens out there, but there's no proof behind it, and it's not exactly taken on faith that there's aliens out there. That's just my thoughts on that.
Because many times we say, hey, this is about blind belief. Rama hai ki nahi, Krishna hai ki nahi, blind belief, blind belief. Math to. I don't know anything. Is it okay? Shraddhavan labhate jnana. What does faith do? Faith makes your mind open. Faith makes your mind open.
Faith makes your mind open. Maybe. I don't, me personally, I don't think that I have to have faith to have my mind open. To be open is to be open in my opinion, but I'd have to think about that. Maybe I have to have, maybe I am having faith and not realizing it. I'm not sure. Again, I do believe to be myself to be an open-minded, and I do preach that to consider what other people say, be open-minded about that. You don't have to believe in what they say, just consider it, hear them out. It could be true, it could be false. That's up to you to decide whether it is or isn't. Faith makes your mind open.
That's what faith does. Faith doesn't stop thinking. Please understand that. My guru had a beautiful definition of faith. He said it is belief pending inquiry. I believe in what I this, and then when I think and inquire, I come to know what I believe in.
Yes.
Have you understood that?
So, how I understood that's the fact that there are people out there like who says, oh, I think there's a planet out there. I believe it. And it's not usually blind faith, though. There's some kind of indication usually that points in there, but he has no proof. And what I say to these people is just like, oh, that's fine, believe it, but don't go out there saying that it's true when you have no proof of it. So it's fine to believe in something that you have no proof of, but you cannot go out there saying that it is true with no proof. You can't go out there saying that this and that. Find out, be sure, show proof, because otherwise you're telling people to believe in something that has no proof behind. Opinion.
But it starts with what? Belief. Ends with what? Knowledge. Have you understood that? But if I'm not even going to accept its existence, how am I going to know it?
Well, it's not, again, this is why I do like what it's Swami and Sadhguru. You don't accept nor deny anything. You just say, if you don't know, you don't know. I like that so much more than just saying faith. The faith to me is more of a positive in belief as opposed to a don't know or a I don't believe. in my opinion, I much prefer people to say I don't believe or I don't know more than I believe without any proof. Because if someone claims, someone comes out there, it's like, I am an alien, and you're like, I don't know, that's acceptable to me. Or say, I don't think so, and that's much better, because it doesn't put in the mind of someone that they believe automatically. I want people to think about things, and to really think about it, and then accept it to be true if they choose. But I don't want them to just believe without thinking about it. That's where I'm coming from. That's where I stand. It's the fact that whenever anyone says anything, whenever I say anything, is don't accept it, question it, then choose to believe it or follow it. But you have to make sure that you choose. Don't say, oh, that person said it, therefore I believe. Which is, I believe, something that you said in the very beginning, which I do like. And faith is more of the positive side than the negative. Like I said before, I'd rather people say I don't know or I don't believe, as opposed to faith, which is I believe.
I'm not going to even believe that it can exist, a possibility. Then I'm closing myself. There's no question of me knowing it ever, anytime.
But of course, don't close it. Just be, again, open-minded, but I'd rather you be skeptical about it than to just automatically believe it.
Why go with the belief that there is a cure for XYZ disease and then I start working? If I had no belief, would I even start working?
I would, again, maybe I'm just a weird guy here, but yeah. It's like, just because I don't believe it doesn't mean I'm not going to pursue it. It's just because I don't know. Again, that's why I like the I don't know.
And that is why belief is so important for me to continue my thinking, continue action. Without belief, neither an action nor knowledge or inquiry is possible. Are you understanding what I'm speaking?
I will say this, if that's what's required for you to obtain knowledge, then please do follow it. But for me, it's not. Belief, in my opinion, is not required for me to obtain knowledge of something. If someone were to present something, I'll be skeptical of it, and then I'll search the knowledge. If there's something I want to know, I'm not going to believe it. And maybe it's the definition of belief. Belief. It's the too much in the positive, as in I do believe, as opposed to being a skeptic. Maybe that's the thing for me.
Person who's already some conclusion, he's closed himself, then there's no question, you can't open that mind at all. Nothing new can happen. But if he's an open mind, he inquires and he finds out. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. There's a chance, yeah. Let me think. Are you understanding?
And there's the biggest thing. Inquiry and belief, to me, are two different things. Is, again, you don't need belief to have inquiry, to search for knowledge. It's just you obtain an information and then you seek a deeper knowledge or understanding of that information, which is not belief. But I do believe that what is true, what she says about, if you don't know something and you deem it to be true, it is belief. Until you know it to be true, then it becomes knowledge.
So therefore, who am I? Vedanta says, I am that eternal and infinite happiness. I am what I am looking for. Who is God? He is that eternal and infinite happiness. In the language of philosophy, he is called the truth. In the language of religion, he is called God. Have you understood? The same truth in the language of religion is called God. In the language of philosophy is called the truth.
I like that. I like that. Absolutely. Yeah, I've not heard any, I don't believe I've heard any Guru Swami say that. And I do like that. And it's very true, honestly. This is something that I kind of had an idea of with Lakhani whenever he talks about Hindu religion being all accepting of everything, because it's a way of life that seeks the truth. and the fact that different gods are a path to the truth. We all just understand it a little bit differently, obviously. They follow the path of devotion, I believe is bhakti, I believe, and Swami Sarvapriyananda says most people follow the path of karma, action. But yes, I do believe that. That's actually really nice. I've not heard, I don't believe I heard anyone say that, and I really like that. I do. Let's see if there's anything else before I pause it.
Our problem again comes when we say, I don't have faith that the God has a form. That same formless truth can take any form, does take any form, all the forms, anytime, all the time. So what does Vedanta say? That same formless, nameless, qualityless entity can take any form, all the forms, every form.
Yeah, I don't think you should say any form. I think you should say all the forms. Again, being I guess, I don't know, nitpicky or something, but just when you say any form, it makes it seem like it's at one single form, but all forms means all, every form.
Is it okay? So what does Vedanta believe? God is formless, but he has what? He takes many forms and he has many names. So how many gods do we believe in? One God. How many forms? Many forms. Okay. This is all.
I was going to say 330 million last time I remember. But anyways, okay, so this is, I'm going to pause right here. So this was a bit more me being involved in terms of my personal opinions and beliefs in this. I'm not necessarily disagreeing on her, but I do wish she could answer these to clear my thoughts on the questions that I have with her statements. Just again, this is just the way I am in everything I do and everything that you may think is annoying. I mean, maybe it is, but it's just how I clarify my thoughts, because I guess I have to know precisely for the most part on certain things. That way I know there's no question behind it. And I hope, in my opinion, I hope people question things and just don't automatically believe in things. Because when you start just believing in things without questioning it, you become, I do believe, these radicals, or because they don't question their beliefs, that they become quite radical. So I do believe questions to be very healthy, and I want everyone that watches my channel to question everything I say, obviously, but more importantly, it's not to believe me unless you choose to believe me, but not because you just want to believe me, by you saying, oh, it makes sense, it's something that I experience in life, I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to do more research on it, but most importantly, like, yeah, I hear what you say, I'll consider it. Does it make sense in my life? Anyways, that's the end of part 2. The third part is going to be the last part, hopefully, if I don't talk too much. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.